Good morning. Today we are starting our next unit, Unit 8. We are going to be working with data and how we analyze that data. So today's we're going to be talking about the mean, median, and mode, and then we're going to start talking about different types of graphs. Some graphs we've worked with before, some will be new graphs. Learning how to read the graph so we can understand the data. So today we are doing PO60. It is a PO because we have been introduced to mean, median, and mode before. So now we're making sure that we totally understand it. It is a power objective. So far this season, your team has played 9 basketball games, scoring 27, 23, 22, 32, 22, 15, 25, 28, and 22 points in each of your games. Your coach asked you to predict how many points your team will score in your 10th game. How might you do this? We could look at the mean, we can look at the mode, and we can look at that median to maybe get an idea of where we might fall. So the first one we're going to work with is the mean. What is the mean? Zelda?
Lining up the numbers from least to greatest into data, and then you add all of the numbers up, and then you divide it by how many numbers there are.
That is how we find the mean. So you are correct, that's how we find the mean. The actual definition of the mean is the average of a data set. So when we find the mean of all of those numbers, it is the average. So when you hear something about an average, we should all have our math finders out and be taking notes. When you hear about the mean, you hear about an average, they are the same thing. And what Zelda said is absolutely correct for how to find it. We don't have to put them in order. That we need to do for the median. So for the mean, we just need to add all the numbers together and divide by how many numbers there are. So we add them all up, and if we had 9 games, we divide it by 9, because there are 9 sets of data. What is the mean of your basketball scores? Get your calculators out. What is the first thing we have to find? What's our first step that we're going to do with all of those basketball scores? Lauren? Add them all together. What do we get when we add all those basketball scores together? Zelda?
216.
216. So what is my second step? Jimena?
You divide how many numbers there are.
How many are there, Jimena?
9.
9. So 216 divided by 9. I use the fraction bar to show divide. You could use the division symbol. But remember, when we use a fraction, we take the top number, divide it by the bottom number. If I have 216 divided by 9, what do I get, Ava? 24. So our mean basketball score, the average basketball score, is 24. So remember how to find the mean? We do it in our math packets, so we've had practice with finding the mean, median, and mode. Who can tell me what the definition for the median is? Layla? The middle number of a data set. median, middle. They kind of sounded like median, middle. They've got that D in the middle, median, middle. So to find the median, what is the very important first step we have to do? Put the numbers in order, very important. Put numbers in order from least to greatest. And find the middle number. What happens if we have two numbers in the middle? If we have an even number set? What do we do, Zelda? And then by 2. We find the average of the two middle numbers. So if you have an even set of numbers, you find the average of those middle two numbers. So that means we add them together and divide by 2. We can't have two medians. There can always only be one. So if it's an odd set of numbers, like our basketball games, there's going to be one number that's in the middle. If there's an even set of numbers, you're going to have two numbers in the middle. So you have to add the middle two together, divide by 2. Find the mean of those two middle numbers. So if we look at our basketball scores, there's 9 of them. What is the median of our basketball scores? Well, our first step is to put our scores in order. So putting them in order helps me to find that middle number. The way that they were listed originally, it would look like our median number is 22. But it's not the actual answer because they weren't in order. You have to turn around and put them in order. What is our median, Lauren? 23. Because when I put them in order, I've got 15 and 32, 22, 28, 22, 27, 22, 25, and I've got 23 right in the middle. So many people forget to put them in order. So many people just look at the list of numbers, find the middle number, and say that's your median. It is not. Remember, the very, very important first step, always, always, always put them in order. Then we have our mode. Who knows the definition for mode? Connor? Yeah. The number found most often in a data set. Mode, most. They have those O's. Mode, most. So if we look at our number set, how to find it. So we need to find how many times a number is listed in a data set mode is listed the most. Is there always a mode? Thumbs up if there's always going to be a mode. Thumbs down if we can have no mode. I want to see people's thumbs. What do you think? Do you think there's always going to be a mode? Or do you think there might not be a mode? Dominic, why do you think there might not be a mode? If we have one of every number, we're not going to list every single number as our mode. There's no most. We can have ties. So if we had, let's say, 1, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, what would my mode be of that data set? Yeah, I've got 2 3s and 2 5s, so my mode would be 3 and 5. You can have ties, but we're not going to list every single number of the data set if they're all tied. So if we just had 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we're not going to list all of them as our mode. We would say there's no mode. Okay, so we can have no mode. We can have one number as our mode, or if there's ties, we can list the ties as our mode. We can have multiple modes. So if we are looking at our data set for basketball scores, what is our mode? Layla, say it louder. 22, because there are 3 22s. That is the number that we see most often. What do you think is the best method to use? Do you think you should always use the same method when using data, past data, to make a prediction? Why or why not? So what do you think is the best method to use? The mean, the median, or the mode? What are your thoughts? What do you think, Zelda?
I'm thinking, well, I don't really have an option. They're all pretty good. But I use mean, but I shouldn't use the same method because it can sometimes be the wrong answer. You can get different answers.
What was that, Connor?
You can get different answers.
So sometimes it depends on what the question is. What are they asking us to find? Is it, do I need to find the average, that mean? Do I need to find which thing is happening most often? Then I need to find the mode. So it really depends on what is being asked, what prediction you're being asked to make as to which one you're going to use. Like Zelda said, they're all good. They all serve a purpose, but it's different purposes that they're serving. So it really depends on the question that you are being asked. So it depends. Depends on the question as to which one we're going to use. So if we look at the very bottom, I already covered this. Let's see who was listening. Calculate how to calculate the median when there's an even amount of data. So we have a data list of 8, 13, 7, 16, 18, and 9. What is my first step? Madison? Layla? I have to put the numbers in order. That's always my first step. So I've got 7, 8, 9, 13, 16, and 18. What is my next step? What should I do to find that median? Keep going, Layla. What should I do? If I'm adding the numbers up, that's going to find what? Is that going to find the median? That's going to find the mean. So I'm looking at just the median right now. Callie? Ooh, I've got 2 numbers in the middle. So is my median 913? What do I do, Bryn?
Add them together and add a 5.
I have to add them together and divide by 2. I have to find that mean of 9 and 13. So if I add 9 and 13 together, I get 22. And I need to divide it by 2 because there were 2 numbers. What is 22 divided by 2, Ava? 11. So my median is 11, even though that number isn't in my data list. It's okay. We're looking for the middle of all the numbers. So it might not be a number that's listed. When we're adding the 2 together and dividing by the 2, we're going to get a number that hadn't been listed. But we can see 11 falls right in the middle of 9 and 13, right? So that's what we want for our middle number, that number that would fall right in the middle. Sometimes if it's an odd number of data numbers, we just take that middle number. But if it's not an odd number, if it's even, we need to find the middle of those 2 middle numbers. Does that make sense? Okay. Median is always, always, always just one number. The mean is always, always, always just one number. The mode can have multiple numbers. Any questions on mean, median, and mode? All right, let's look at what our work for today is going to be. We have different data sets, and the directions say calculate the mean, the median, and the mode. So when we're calculating the mean, you just have to add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers there were. For the median, I want to see you put your numbers in order. So for the mean, I want you to write what the total number was and what you're dividing by. Okay, you don't have to show the work of adding every number together because you can use your calculator for that. But I do want you to put the total that you get. So when we look at this first one, if I add all those numbers up together, I get 504. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers, so I know I'm going to divide it by 7. So I want to see that work. I want to see your total and what you're dividing by. For your median, I want to see you putting your numbers in order. So I want to see those numbers all in order, and then write what your middle number is. And then your mode, you're just going to write down what the mode is. Madison.
So when you put it in order, can you put, doesn't matter what 78 you put first, like, do you just put them right next to each other?
They'll just be next to each other, yeah. So what I do is I write a number, I cross it off, write the number, cross it off. And then if I see this 78 first, then I go, oh, here's another 7. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one I cross off first. So you want to put 504 divided by 7. What does that equal? That's my mean. Then I'm looking at my median. I have them put in order. I'm going to circle my middle number. If I have 2 middle numbers, I have to find the mean of those 2 middle numbers. And then the mode, I'm just going to look, which number do I see the most times? So you don't have to show every little step of work, but you do have to show some work. Make sense? Okay. When you get to the graphs down here, these are our data sets. That's what you're going to use to find your mean, median, and mode. So instead of just being listed going across, they're listed in the graph. It's the same thing. You're going to do the exact same thing. So you still have to put them in order. You still have to add them up for the mean. Any questions on today's work? When you are done with the work, you will be working on your math packet. We're going to see if there's time to make our video. There may or may not be. Jimena, did you have a question? Which one?
With like the names and the number of no possible data. Could you count the zeros or like?
So that is a good question. when I put my numbers in order, I would start with the 0 and then the 12. So, yep, it counts as a number. And if I am adding them up, it counts as a number that I added up. I'm adding 0, so it's not changing my total, but it does count as a number in our data set. So the 0 very much counts. Any other questions? That was a great question. Any other questions? Madison?
On the one right next to that one, how do you find the mode for that one? Because there's not.
Is there always a mode, Madison?
No.
So if there is, all the numbers have the exact same amount, what should I write?
Zero.
I'm not gonna put a 0 because we just talked about how 0 counts. There's no 0 in the data set. So you would write no mode. You don't leave it blank, because leaving it blank means you're not answering it. We don't ever leave it blank. We don't ever put a 0 if 0 is not in our data set. We would write no mode. So don't just leave blank, and definitely don't put a 0, because 0 is a number in the data sets. So if you're gonna put 0, it means you see a bunch of zeros up there, and I don't see any zeros in the data set. Okay, so you would just write no mode. Any other questions? So can we have multiple modes? So you might have 2 modes listed, and that's okay.
A mode and they're like the same numbers and the same amount, it's just the same number, you just add them together.
That's the median. If we have 2 numbers in the middle, you add them together and divide them. The mode is the only one where we can have multiple numbers. So remember what I put up there, and it was 3 and 5 were our modes. You can have multiple modes. Any other questions? These are great questions. All right, if you are watching this at home, I hope you are well. I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.